Alright guys, here it is, the Super Battleships, the Hanover specifically today. And this is the one that I was the most excited for going into this, because the Kurfürst is not a very good battleship, let's be honest. It's easily one of the weakest battleships at tier 10, and it really does lag behind a lot of the others, despite its massive size and armor and HP. It's really not that good. So I was very curious to see what would happen if you slapped some bigger guns and gave it more HP. We'll see throughout this game that they've done more than just that to this ship, but these guns are very nice. I'm still getting used to the leading on these, so I missed this Henry, unfortunately. And this was played on PTS, if you're wondering, the public test server, and it just came out yesterday. So I'll probably be playing on the public test server for a while, trying to get these ships and play them as much as possible just to see what they're like. So there's going to be a few games where there's some bots in them, but they do have the improved bot AI that was removed from co-op a while ago. And so they actually play around like an average player. An average, very aggressive player. So they do push in, but their aim is very good, obviously. They're a bot. But they play reasonably well. They try to angle, it seems like. So yeah, it's not that big of a deal actually to see these bots in game. And this ship is very strong. That bar you're seeing in the middle of the screen and the down at the bottom next to my AP shells, it says auto there. That is a buff that happens after 5 consecutive accurate shell hits. You can see we just gained another tick there on the bar. And this decreases over time if you're not shooting. But assuming you're shooting the whole time, after 5 salvos, you get a buff to your secondaries. It buffs their accuracy and the range. And it's a pretty substantial buff. It goes to 14.1 kilometers of range. And I think it was in that 30 to 50% accuracy. I didn't actually check. But you'll see in a minute, once we get that activated, that this Hanover that we're facing actually eats a lot of secondaries. It's really, really cool. And personally, I wish that the secondaries were just like this all the time, because it's very difficult to get into secondary range a lot of times in this game, and having them be almost useless the majority of the time that you're in secondary range is kind of lame in my opinion. But after this salvo, you'll see. We'll activate it, and they're pretty spicy. And, well, I mean, we get huge damage through his superstructure anyway. But here they go. You could see the accuracy uptick already, just compared to that last salvo there. And these are the new ones hitting right now. They still miss, but, well, look at that hit rate. We're already up to 30. It's pretty nice. And I do think that this is something, if it comes to the live server, would be a really cool addition to secondary battleships. Not making secondaries this accurate all the time, but giving you some scenarios where they're this accurate and have this extra bit of range. It's pretty cool. So we're already, on 77 hits, up to 80 now. And actually, if you take a look at the ribbons there, I really do like that new animation they have of new ribbons coming in. And this Hanover goes down. Obviously, we had some help there. We only dealt 60k so far, but this was my first game in this ship, so I was really trying to figure it out. Wasn't sure where to shoot things yet, but you do get 32 millimeters of overmatch with this ship. They're 481 millimeter guns, I believe. So you're overmatching 32 millimeters, and we'll get into that a little more in the Satsuma video that'll be probably coming out tomorrow. But it's a little rough to play the Satsuma because it's covered in 32 millimeters. And when all these battleships are capable of overmatching 32 millimeters, you really do need a little bit more armor. Although that said, you can just shoot the superstructure and get 22,000 damage just like that. But really pay attention to this rear turret angle here in this fight. The Kurfürst would be unable to use its rear turret a lot of the time in this fight, and we're capable of doing it in the Hanover. This is something that I think would be a great change for the Kurfürst. Having turret angles like this. Look at those turrets. They're still on target, even at this angle. It would make the armor a lot more effective. It would make the guns much more comfortable to use. It would just be a really good change and something I would love to see out of a Kurfürst. But speaking about Hanover a little bit more, there's a little portion of the bow that you can overmatch. It's a little bit more exposed than the Kurfürst is, the bow that is. The 60mm plate doesn't quite go as high. And the build I'm running here, if you're wondering, is a full secondary build. We have fire prevention, we have close quarters combat to get the main gun and secondary reload down, and also secondary accuracy, secondary range, pretty standard. I'm actually running some of the AA skills as well on this build because I was told by Twitch chat that CVs really love to come after you. Fortunately, no CV in this game, but that's something we'll test later on for sure, once I've got a few more games. Unfortunately, you have to play 6 regular ship games in the PTS, in this game mode, Grand Battles, in order to get 1 game out of the battleships. So not a great ratio there, so I spent most of my time running it down in Kaba and Kleber, which you'll probably see later on next week when I talk a little bit more generally about this game mode and what I'd like to see out of it. But you could look at the cool searchlights come on here. I think that's a really cool effect. Yeah, the small tweaks that they're making to make the game look nicer are always pretty cool. Here you can see we got our secondaries out on both sides. We're nearly up to a 200 hit streak. Our secondaries are actually reaching that Kremlin in the cap, if you can believe that, 14 kilometers away. That's pretty cool, man. That is pretty cool. So I like this ship a lot, and I would love to see it played in random battles more. I don't actually think this ship would be that overpowered in random battles, for reasons that you'll see later on once I post some more videos about my experience on PTS, but farming this battleship out was not hard at all. I played an IFHE Henry and was consistently getting around 5 to 8k damage salvos out of it, as well as fires. Playing torpedo boats, look at how massive this ship is, right? It turns very slowly, despite having a decent rudder shift. I'm actually running rudder mod in this game, so that's why you'll see the rudder shift isn't bad, but the turning circle is gigantic. So hitting it with torps, not hard. I haven't played against CVs much in it though, so I can't say for sure what the CVs feel like, but I'm sure they're pretty capable of dealing damage. Let's be honest here. It's not that hard to hit current battleships, so you make them even bigger and even slower to turn, it's going to be pretty easy to hit. But you can see the accuracy at longer range isn't actually that bad. So we've been hitting this Hanover reasonably well. And yeah, this ship just feels very comfortable to play, at least from this one game I've played from it. I did have to play 2 Satsuma games because my first one did not end well. I tried to brawl, and it did not go well at all. That ship is definitely a sniper. But it's a good sniper, but it's definitely a sniper. This Hanover, I think, is much more versatile. It's decent at range, but it gets the ability to tank and brawl it out up close and push out and win games. You can see the searchlights going off on that Hanover as well, meaning that I'm pretty sure that means his special ability is activated currently. So he's getting that buff to secondaries right now. There you go, a nice 18,000 damage salvo. From that distance. That's kind of unheard of, I think, out of a GK. So definitely a good ship. I am excited for this game mode to come to the live server. I hope they're going to do something about the economy where you have to play 6 games in regular ships just to get 1 game in a super battleship. I would love it if they maybe cut that in half, so you played 3 regular games and then you play maybe 1 battleship game for that. I think that would be a reasonable way of doing things, but as it stands right now, it is a lot of time spent in other ships. If you average a game to, say, 12 minutes, 10 minutes even, let's say an average game here is 10 minutes long. Well, doing 6 of those, that's an hour just to have another 10 minutes in a super battleship. That's kind of a waste of people's time, I think. I don't know. It's a decent game mode outside of that. Even when you're playing more normal ships, these super battleships aren't so strong that you feel bad playing a cruiser. Like I said, I had a great time in Henry. I had a great time playing destroyers as well. So it's not like it's awful to play these other ships, but I would love to see it where you get the ability to play these ships a little bit more often. Another big hit there, a reasonably big hit, that is. I love these new animations with the ribbons, though, and the searchlights going off for these special effects. It's very, very cool. This Shimakaze is definitely in front of me in BCAP, and we're just about to run out of Hydro, so I was getting a little nervous in this scenario, hoping that we'd actually run into the Shima, and there he is. So we end up catching him, and I was having a little trouble clicking on people for secondaries. I'm so used to being able to click on the name above the ship, and on the PTS at least, you can only click on the ship directly. So that's something to be aware of if you're used to playing secondary ships. You can't click the health bar or the name or the icon above that at all. It is just the ship. So a little bit unfortunate there that we didn't get all our secondaries on the Shima, but it was more than enough to take him out. So that's pretty much the game. That Hanover shooting HE, he still got 10k out of HE, so these big guns definitely hurt, regardless of the shell type, but I would recommend you stick to AP. There's a lot of overmatch that you can do with these guns, and it goes quite well. I got pretty lucky this game to not get focused down that much, obviously, but still a decent result with 230k. It's tough to know what a good game looks like now that there's ships with much more HP in the game, but I think 230k is a decent match overall, and we had quite a bit of fun with it. So to talk a little bit about the captain, I did just go all in on the secondaries, right? We got range, accuracy, reload, taking fire prevention because it's just such a giant ship, it's easy to light it on fire. And these are the two AA ones. I'm not sure if they're worth it or not, that I've yet to test, but on my live server testing with Ohio, taking these two upgrades with the 3 million slot actually makes your AA pretty decent. You can see we get 10 flak explosions right now with this build. So it seems like maybe if the CV eats flak, you can defend yourself a little bit. I'm not quite so sure of that. That's why I've yet to test it. And then here is my build with the secondaries. So we're getting the extra secondary damage, right? Reload time and the AA from this. And I did go ship consumables mod to get extra healing out of our 4 heals since I wasn't able to take Superintendent. Concealment didn't seem to make much difference. It was 18.6 or 16 something. Maybe if you go double concealment on the commander and this, it would be a little better. But I figured I may as well just go all in for it. Use islands to approach and try and make the secondaries work. And steering gears definitely helped us dodge torpedoes and angle our ship when we weren't shooting. And yeah, secondary is pretty standard. It's a fun game mode, and it's interesting to see what these ships can do. But I don't really care for how much intelligence reports you have to get and how many games you have to play just to get that intelligence report. And I got a feeling that it's on live server, it's going to be even harder to get access to these ships. So I don't know. It certainly was fun playing this Hanover though today, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video and have a great day.